Hi, welcome to For Flow with Chloe, where I'm going to pull a few cards from the Lightseers Tarot to start. Returned to work today after my week off. Went out with a bang last night watching some fireworks for the sort of end of the week celebrations for all of the Lunar New Year. Saw some nice traditional dances and the lion dance. I always love the lion dance with the drums while it does its thing and pops up and shakes around and does its eyelash fluttering. And yeah, the firework display and the fire eaters and the fire dancers, they were very fun. Rather fun. And had some lovely dim sum, steamed dumplings, and some lovely oysters. Very nice. Okay, so the first three cards we have the Hierophant, spiritual ascension, spiritual mastery. We are in the sign of Pisces at the moment, which is a lot about spiritual ascension and spiritual mastery and, completions of cycles, as it's the last zodiac sign in the wheel of the zodiac before we tip into Aries and spring and all the new thing. And so it's a lot about, like looking back and integrating all that we've learned through the journey of all of the other signs to be able to integrate and release what is not meant for us in order to ascend. What was the wisdom we learned? Which bits are we keeping? Ascend. And we also have the Queen of Swords. She's very, very pensive on this card. She's looking out to see, we've got this seabird sort of in flight. The flags are raised and her sword is lowered. She's very pensive, non-reactive, but quite, strong-minded. This is very much about plotting and clear, rational thinking. Very, very pensive. We then have the Four of Pentacles. She's looking she could be looking pensive and looking out upon the kingdom from whence she once came. However, she seems more like she's holding on to her valuables. She's clutching this purse. And so there's a message here that the town behind doesn't look particularly affluent. But she sits on a balcony with pillars that look slightly more well kept, well maintained. There's also some little figures in the midground. I feel like there's a sense of a need for ascension through knowing how far you've come and having the wisdom of the lessons you've learned throughout however long this cycle is. It could be a year, could be multiple years. And everything that you've like collectively learned from your journey so far on it. And having a pause, having a momentary pause of thought to get clear on where you want to go next. And part of that is looking back at how far you've come. And what you have earned, what you have gained in life lessons, and in what you have built for yourself in how far you've come. However, the lesson that comes with the Four of Pentacles is holding on too tightly. There's often a fear of scarcity, of not wanting, of being afraid of slipping back into old patterns or old places or old timelines, or maybe still being partially attached to a version of self that no longer fits, that was a version of self that existed in lack, whether that's lack of confidence, lack of courage, lack of money, lack of resources, lack of wisdom, lack of love. You know, there's many ways that we can be abundant and many things we can be abundant in. But generally a place where we felt less stable. And we don't want to slip back into those patterns. But we also don't want to hold on too tightly to the fear that we will. I think there's a need to trust how far we have come. And trust that we can move forward and not slip back into these old ways. That may require, however, some really clear thought about what you do not take with you. What are you holding on too tightly to that you need to cut away? What version of reality do you need to cut away? What people, habits, places? You know, I'm getting also like a thing of just our patterns of behaviour. And often when we're trying to change our patterns of behaviour, we need to extract ourselves from things that trigger those behaviours. That can be people and places where you're going to be confronted with said thing that triggers those behaviours in you. But we also need to trust that we can move forward. But we maybe need to give ourselves a bit of a helping hand. We do need to trust how far we've come and trust that we can keep going forward. Maybe you have been in a place where you've had to cut things away to get to where you are. And get to this place of mental peace and serenity through rational thought. And we had this one the other day. The Seven of Cups. Trusting the flow of life. Not getting too hung up on which path to choose. not getting deluded about which path to choose. You might be really emotionally struggling to let go of something and struggling to go with the flow. I'm really looking at the flow of water through all of these. You know, there's someone hung up here on what to do, what to do, what to do. Just trust and flow. And trust your intuition. Whilst this card is very much a card of rational thought, we don't want to over-rationalise and get hung up. So there needs to be this clear, clarid cutting away and forward movement of thought, but we don't want to get overly hung up on the logistics of how it will happen. We need to trust the flow. We need to trust the intuition to some extent. Otherwise, we're going to end up stuck and hung up and holding on to things, overthinking what should stay and what should go. Just go with what feels right and what doesn't. And then we have Temperance, a card of healing and patience and balance. You know, we have our sun and moon on this card. We are coming up to a full moon eclipse, so a lunar eclipse on the 2nd, 3rd of March, depending on your time zone of where you live, where the sun and moon will be in an opposition to one another, as they always are on a full moon. But I feel like this eclipse is going to really shed some light and illuminate what it is that you need to let go of. I think there's going to be some intuitive, spiritual help to allow you to find closure with some part of your life. And it's going to be very, very healing and very, very cleansing for you. This lunar eclipse is in the sign of Virgo. Pisces is a lot about spiritual healing, and it's a water sign, so very cleansing. But there's also, on the shadow side of Pisces, there can be a lot of tendency to rely on, you know, things that alter our minds, our state of mind, which can, you know, involve kind of like addictions and things. And Virgo is a very healing sign. It's linked to Chiron, planet of healing, as well as being ruled by Mercury, but it's also very associated with Chiron, the wounded healer. And so I feel like this lunar eclipse is going to really help you detoxify, cleanse out and heal old behaviour patterns, old cycles, and a really good time to look really closely at your own behaviours, your own patterns, and what it is you need to release and cleanse out, so that you can have this spiritual ascension and this healing. Take another one. few come out. Have the Ace of Cups. You should do this with love, with compassion for yourself, and this will heal your heart space. Anahata chakra to the heart chakra. A need to take a break, and she's curled up in this little fetal nest with her heart here that has been sort of woven and knitted into this nest. There are spikes sticking through with the Four of Swords, but she's like at peace and rested, and she's healing. She's healing, regenerating, nesting. And she's doing it with self-compassion, with healing, transformational healing, like a self-soothing. And we have the Moon card with a great big full moon on it. And as I said, this lunar eclipse on the 2nd or 3rd, depending on where you live, is going to be very revealing about what it is that you need to heal, that you need to reassess. We've also got a Mercury retrograde coming up on the 26th, so right around the corner, which is going to call us to reassess a lot of our lifestyle, and maybe where we have had toxic attachments. As I said, Pisces can be related to that. And Virgo is very much about creating new structures and patterns and healing that. And Mercury rules Virgo. And with there being a Mercury retrograde at the same time, which is a time to reassess, as this full moon eclipse in the sign of Virgo on the Virgo Pisces axis, this is going to be a lot to do with, things in the workplace, health, and daily life, patterns, behaviours, day-to-day things that you want to strip away in order to help you heal things that might have a much bigger impact and resolve on your whole life, on your whole soul, on your entire spirit for the better. Wow, big reading, big healing, and big love for the self and compassion for the self. Time to be your own best friend and give yourself very good guidance. So yeah, spend some time with yourself in your little nest to have a little word with yourself about what needs to change and what just cannot float with you anymore. Where do you need to release, let go with the flow? What do you need to cut away? What do you need to integrate? What can stay? What is healthy for you and what is not? And we get strength and resilience. It will take some strength and resilience, and does take strength and resilience to overcome patterns of behaviour. We all have those niggling little habits that we just know we could probably improve on. But it's like showing up for yourself every day, committing to yourself and accepting that something needs to change. And every day showing up for yourself and committing yourself to those changes. I need strength and resilience to do those things. But they will be ever so healing and enlightening. And that is the reading. Go and be kind to yourself and look out for that full moon eclipse. Thank you for watching Flow with Chloe. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Thank you to all you new subscribers and all you continual viewers. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.